Good afternoon. Good afternoon to all the participants. On behalf of envis and Puducherry, we welcome all you for this today's webinar on World Sea Turtle Day, which is celebrated on June 16th. It is a day used to highlight the importance of the sea turtles, and this is also a day which has been having more importance since it's Dr. Archie Carr, Sea Turtle Conservancy founder and the father of sea turtle biology, who is in US citizens, and he has done an immense work on the sea turtles and its conservation activities. I now request Dr. R. Sagai Alfred sir to give a welcome address.
Good afternoon to all of you. It's immense pleasure in welcoming you all to this webinar on this World Sea Turtle Day, which is organized by Puducherry envis of the Puducherry Pollution Control Committee on the title Legal Aspects of Turtle Conservation in India. And I take this pleasure in welcoming our Director, Member Secretary of Puducherry Pollution Control Committee, Dr. Dinesh Kannan IFS, for sparing his valuable time and for his opening remarks. I also feel great pleasure in welcoming today's speaker, Sri Agnimitra IFS, is the present Regional Deputy Director, Wildlife Crime Control Bureau, Nizam Palace, Kolkata, West Bengal. Sir, thank you for accepting our invitation from Puducherry Pollution Control Committee of Government of Pondicherry and for your experience to share with in the webinar lecture. We welcome you, sir. I would also feel great pleasure in welcoming all the officials of the Department of Science, Technology and Environment, as well as Puducherry envis team members and all participants who are at this platform today to attend the webinar. I welcome each and every one of you. I am sure that you all will be feel enriched with the knowledge after completion of this webinar on the said title, and you will be having a great time ahead. I now request our Director cum Member Secretary, sir, for his opening remarks, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Puducherry envis Hub, we cordially welcome you all for today's webinar. Today is the World Sea Turtle Day. The day is celebrated to make people aware of the marine turtles, which are playing a major role in the ecology. Marine turtles, they are having some fascinating and interesting characters. I want to say a few among them. Marine turtles, they are one of the oldest reptiles. We can say that it is older than snake, crocodile and alligators. On the other way, we can say that the turtles share their life with the dinosaurs also, that is in the Jurassic period. So they lived such a long period. Also, the marine turtles are known as the lawn movers in the ocean, because the sea grass, which are in the seabed, being eaten by the turtles, indirectly it helps other marine creatures as well as the fishes to avoid from getting entangled in the longly grown seagrass. So they are the lawn movers also. And one more interesting fact I can say that the female turtles, they will come back to the place where they are born for laying their eggs. After a period of 20 years, the turtles will become mature enough to lay eggs. But the female turtles, they are coming to the same place where they are born. So they are having such a intelligent magnetic field, I can say. So they come to their original place again. And And the other way I can say that turtles, their lifespan is around 100 years. People used to say that the female turtles, the number of eggs they lay, they are more or less equal to the number of years they are going to live in the earth. These are some of the interesting facts about the turtles. In India and world, we have around 7 number of marine turtle species. And among the 7, 6 numbers are in the category of endangered or critically endangered status as per IUCN. The reasons, if you see the reason, mainly due to the anthropogenic disturbances only, it's because of the fishing net, which where the turtles are getting entangled themselves in the fishing net, and also the plastic pollution, which plays a major role for the young hatchlings. The newly hatched the turtles, when they are moving to the sea, they are being disturbed by the plastics which are floating in the sea, as well as the plastics are being seen as a jellyfish by the sea turtles. Jellyfish is one of the delicious food for the sea turtles, so they are taking the plastics as if they are jellyfish, and they are going into their stomach, and it creates problem also. Apart from this, the major problem is illegal trade and poaching of turtles. This plays a major role for the status of endangered and critically endangered marine turtles in the world. So it is a right occasion. I feel that we invited the speaker Agnimitra from Kolkata, who is the Deputy Director in Wildlife Crime Control Bureau. So I think the lecture which is going to be delivered by Agnimitra will be an eye-opener for all of us. The need for conservation of marine turtle, and also the reason for the illegal trade and poaching, how it can be protected, and how we are totally aware of this issue, so that we can put our effort in conserving the marine turtles. And now I request Vipin to introduce the speaker. Agnimitra, thank you and welcome for the webinar.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of us, we are having Mr. Agnimitra, IFS officer, who is from 2009 batch, and who is the regional deputy director of Wildlife Crime Control Bureau, Nizam Palace, West Bengal, who did his schooling from Ramakrishna Mission's Ashram Vidyalaya, having a zoology honors from Presidency College, Kolkata, and have his MSc Environmental Management from Forest Research Institute, Dehradun. He's having a wide professional wildlife backgrounds, and he's been a research fellow in Wildlife Institute of India, Dehradun, for 2 years, working at Kanha and Corbett Tiger Reserves under Dr. Y.V. Jala and Kumar Qureshi, who also worked with the World Wide Fund for Nature for 1.5 years in Corbett Tiger Reserve area. Sir is having an IFS career where he was selected in the IFS 2009 batch and was awarded with the gold medal in IFS 2009, who also served as a DFO, Divisional Forest Officer in Nicobar from May 2012 to October 2014, and established an orchidarium at Great Nicobar Islands. And while in the services from October 2014 to 2015, he has conducted 2 levels of recruitment tests. Thank you, sir. I just welcome you for this meeting. Sir, you can carry on, sir. You can start your lecture.
Thank you so much, Dinesh sir, first of all, for inviting me and for such kind words of introduction. So I hope I'm audible. Can somebody tell me if I'm audible?
Audible, sir.
You're audible,
Right.
sir.
Thank you. Okay, so now let me begin the presentation. The presentation is visible?
Yes, sir. It's the legal issues are in total. It's visible, sir.
Okay. Right.
Sir, you can switch to video mode, I mean, full mode.
Yes. Okay. So the legal we today are going to talk about. Okay. Right. So today we are going to cover a few topics on this. First of all, let me show you some snapshots of sea turtle conservation efforts from the Nicobars. Our Dinesh Kannan sir here, he was also there after the tsunamis, and I had followed him into Nicobars. So we are aware of some simple sea turtle conservation practices, and I'm going to show you some snapshots how we do it there. Then we would move into legal issues of turtle trade. So what are the products and what are the drivers in the turtle trade? We would look at that. We would look at the turtle article trade routes and the sensitive areas and the modus operandi involved. And we will finish again with some snapshots of Nicobar. So this is from the Great Nicobar Island. That is the southernmost island of India and has the southernmost point of India, Indira Point, in its southern extreme. So this is a small turtle hatchery. If you can see this small structure which is covered by a fence on all the sides, this is a small turtle hatchery beach. And the reason that this is covered from all sides is to prevent predators like feral dogs, monitor lizards, etc. from predating the nests. So we develop hatcheries like this, and then in the morning and also in the night, the forest department staff scour the beaches. If they see something like this, which is telltale flipper marks of turtles having come to the beach and laying eggs, then they would collect those eggs and get back to the hatchery and keep it there. Sometimes in the night, you could see the turtles laying eggs. So this is snapshots from a video. So you can see this spherical egg at the end of this very long burrow that the turtle has excavated with its hind legs, and the eggs being deposited there. But the forest staff is there, and as soon as the eggs are deposited, and before the turtle covers the nest with sand, they would collect those eggs from there and then take it to the hatchery that we have just seen. The turtle eggs, when they are just laid, the embryos have not oriented themselves till then, and you can keep it just like that. But if you are taking eggs 24 hours after they being laid and beyond, then you will have to pinpoint which sides were up, because the embryos would have oriented themselves by then. And then if they are kept in wrong orientations, then they are not going to hatch. But this freshly laid turtle eggs, that's not a problem. There's no need for marking them. So after those turtle eggs are collected, they are laid in the sand in the beach to be incubated by the sun-warmed sand. And the date and the time of the arrival and departure of the turtle, and the number of eggs and the date, those are recorded. So after the eggs are left for incubation and is guarded from predators, it takes 45 to 60 days, depending upon the species. And after that, we have small hatchlings. So these are hatchlings of the giant leatherback turtle. So they are collected once they are hatched within the hatchery. They are collected and then released in close to the seawater, from where they can go back to the seawater themselves. So these very small turtles of about 3 inches size, one day, if luck favors it, are going to grow into giants of 2 meters each. Covering a little bit on what we saw as threats to sea turtles. Of course, nest predation, natural nest predation by feral dogs in Great Nicobar was a big issue. That was perhaps the only important issue in Great Nicobar. But beyond that, in the general terms, if we have to describe the threats to sea turtles, some of them has been already elucidated by Dinesh Kannan sir. But let me also repeat that over harvesting of sea turtles, because in many cultures they are used as food, and illegal trade for meat, for these carapace, etc. It is a big threat, and the bigger threat is turtles getting caught as bycatch for the fishing industry. So they are just left to die. They will just get entangled in the nets and they cannot come up for breathing and they would die by asphyxiation. So those are very, very major threats to the turtles, and of course, plastic pollutions, turtle entanglement in discarded nets like these kind of things are also a big threat factor. One of the oceans, which creates havoc for the metabolism and also changes the shorelines because of unpredictable weather, because of water ingress and sea level rise, etc. So all these can be classified as the major threats to sea turtles, and which we directly saw there was the nest predation by feral hawks. So coming to the habitat loss, of course, I forgot to mention, with the beaches being developed for humans and with the ingress of seawater with rising sea levels, the narrow beaches that we have as suitable laying grounds for sea turtles are also being lost. So that part was the sea turtle conservation measures and threats that we have seen on ground. Now let us come to the illegal turtle trade scenario. To begin with, let me refer to the UNODC, United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime report, World Wildlife Crime Report, released in July 2020. And let me attract your attention to the major overall trend of wildlife crime throughout the world, and that is the numbers in 2016 and 2017 is almost double that of 14-15 and 70-80% up on the 5 years average before that. So this is very, very alarming, although let me also tell you that higher numbers of detection may not necessarily mean higher numbers of crime. It might just mean a more efficient way of detecting wildlife crime. But any which way, this is an alarming trend and is being addressed by the world's enforcement agencies. Coming to reptiles and turtles, the major trend that we see, if we compare 2 5-year periods, one from 2009 to 13 and another from 14 to 18, what we see is the little share of tortoise and freshwater turtles at 0.09 on your left hand side in the screen has dwindled 2.03%, and the share of marine turtles at 1 continues to be at 0.01 in both the 2 5-year periods. So in terms of exact number of cases, there is probably not much difference in between these 2 5-year periods, as is the difference in rhinos and pangolins, which has increased sharply in the meantime. Coming to reptiles, turtles and tortoises make up for 47.4%, as you can see in the pie chart on your left, of all the seizures concerning reptiles worldwide. And if we see the top 10 species, we would see that after yellow spotted river turtle, the Indian tortoise comprises of 21.3% of all turtle and tortoise seizures, which would mean, of all reptile seizures actually, 21.3%, which would mean that more than 1 in 5 seizures of reptiles worldwide is of an Indian star tortoise. That is how terribly exploited it is getting. Coming to India as a source country, if you look at the pie chart on your left, 13.3 of all reptile cases could be traced back to India, and this is leaving the domestic cases, of which a major chunk will be from India. And if you leave that unknown 38.3%, then the pie chart on your right, please have a look at the Indian share, which is 21.5%, which would mean 1 in 5, more than 1 in 5 seizures of reptiles worldwide have an Indian origin. So that's also a very alarming figure, and that's what the UNODC crime report states. Looking at the smuggling routes for turtles, tortoises, and other reptiles, You can see most of the roads lead to China, be it pet trade reptiles coming out of the United States or from other Asian countries. You can see India is one of the sources, major sources for pet reptile trade basically. But the convergence is in China for consumption, for pet trade, etc. Within India, if we look at how the turtle trade is positioned, we will have to first look at the demand side. And the demand for illegal turtle trade is under 4 categories, we can say. One is for food, one is for pet. A recent trend that we see is for calapace, which is the cartilage that is there just below the shell. And there is a demand for shell products, but that is dwindling sharply, and there is not many cases in the recent years. When we are talking about illegal turtle trade, it is mostly of freshwater turtles and terrestrial tortoises. The involvement of marine turtles are 10% or so in this crime, and that is mostly in the form of food and sometimes in the form of shell products. So 8 species of Indian origin are common in wildlife trade, and of which 3 we see that they are in high international demand. So those species, the red line in the middle of your screen separates those 8 species into, on your left hand side, the species which are used for meat consumption, and on your right hand side, the species which are coveted as pets. So if we look at species which are used for meat consumption, the Indian softshell turtle or crabshell turtle, the Gangetic softshell turtle, and the peacock softshell turtle, they constitute about 90% plus of all the turtle species used for meat consumption. All of them are in Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act, so enjoys as much protection that a tiger or a rhino does, at least on paper, and they are in Appendix 2 and Appendix 1 of the CITES. So transnational movement of these animals would also attract CITES provisions of respective countries. For pet trade, the most popular is the Indian star tortoise. As we know now, 1 in 5 of the reptiles caught in the world is a star tortoise. And beyond that, we have the spotted pond turtle, the Indian tent turtle, eastern hill terrapin, and red-crowned groove turtle, also featuring many times in the internal as well as the international pet trade. So the star tortoise is in the Schedule 4 of the Wildlife Protection Act, but in Appendix 1 of CITES, and the rest of the turtles that we have, turtles and tortoises that we have described, is in Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act, Appendix 1 of CITES, and the red-crowned groove turtle is in Appendix 2 of the CITES. So these are the major species which are getting affected by illegal turtle trade. So regarding consumption, most of the origin is from the Gangetic belt, from the Gangetic river system, its tributaries and distributaries in Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Bengal, and unfortunately, most of the market for illegal turtle meat is in West Bengal, a little bit in Tripura. So it is actually only a couple of districts in the West Bengal which would be responsible for a rough estimate of more than 50% of the consumption of turtle meat in the whole country. So a couple of districts will account for more than 50% of the consumption of the whole country. There are other sporadic consumption, of course, found in places where the turtle distribution is there. Excuse me. So if we visit some of these markets, there would be from time to time turtles being sold in Agartala, in one of these districts in West Bengal. And thereafter, on generating of such intelligence, swift enforcement action is taking place. And for pet trade, other areas like the drier parts of India, Deccan Plateau areas of Karnataka, Andhra, etc., the star tortoise are taken out from those areas. Some of the river systems of UP and Chambal also produces the black terrapin. The jungles of Sal in the northern part of India has the hill terrapin, etc. So those are the source areas for turtles for the breed. And in the Bangladesh border, in West Bengal, and the ports of Chennai, Kochi, Gaya, Bangalore, Mumbai are known to be major illegal exit routes for the illegal pet trade. Coming to the callipee, it is something which is more of a new phenomena in the illegal turtle trade. So it's a fatty, gelatinous, light yellow substance found over the lower shell of the turtle. It is supposed to be a delicacy in Chinese cuisine and in the cuisines of some of the Southeast Asian countries. It is supposedly a source from some medicinal value also. So it is mostly sourced in Uttar Pradesh, mostly from the soft-shell turtles in the Gangetic belt. It is boiled and dried before it is illegally exported out of India. Shell products, it has dwindled in demand because there are reasonably similar plastic alternatives available, and box, hair clip, combs, etc., or showpieces made out of turtle shell have fallen out of favor because similar things with no legal implications are available at a much cheaper rate. And that is why in the last few years we have not had a seizure of turtle shell products in the Indian coasts. So these were the products which were in use for illegal turtle trade, and if we look at the routes, we would see that we can again classify the routes for consumption or for pets or for callipee trade. And regarding consumption, as we have discussed many times, the regions of UP, which is in the Gangetic river system, plus other areas of Andhra Pradesh and Odisha are also source areas for the Gangetic softshell, the Indian softshell, and peacock softshell turtles. And as we have discussed, the markets of North 24 Parganas, South 24 Parganas of West Bengal, parts of Calcutta, they would account for more than 50% of these turtles generating out of UP, Odisha and Andhra and coming into these 2-3 districts. So the routes followed is of course by roadways, trucks, minivans and SUVs, and by railways to Durgapur, Asansol. These are stations in West Bengal, and then border areas of West Bengal, that is the districts of North 24 Parganas and South 24 Parganas. From Odisha and Andhra, it is similar from regions of Samalkota, etc., through trucks, along with fishes, because Andhra is the largest supplier of fishes to West Bengal and actually the whole of Northeast, Assam and beyond. So along with the fish, these turtles are also illegally loaded in trucks, and it comes through Odisha into West Bengal, and also the turtle loaded trucks definitely go for North 24 Parganas again. For the Tripura markets, Agartala based markets, the turtles come in from Bangladesh mostly, and Bangladesh is also a supplier of fish to Agartala, to Tripura, and along with that, the fish consignments, they conceal turtles within, and that get delivered into Agartala and other parts of Tripura. Regarding the species important as pets, again from the Gangetic river belt of UP, and for the red-crowned roof turtle from the Chambal area of MP, by road and by train, the northern North 24 Parganas district, which is also a Bangladesh border district, and because of the high demand outside of India for these species, they would from those border regions get out of India into Bangladesh. In a while, we will just have a look at the routes beyond Bangladesh border for these species. Similarly, for star tortoises, Karnataka is a major source. So are the drier regions of Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu. They would sometimes move to Mumbai, or they would sometimes move to these areas of North 24 Parganas. Besides Kolkata, would come from those areas by train generally, and then from the border areas of Bangaon, Habra, Ashoknagar, etc., move out into Bangladesh. So unauthorized exit points, because in the Bangladesh border in Bengal and Assam, it's a pretty porous border with similar populations on both sides of the border. Rivers at a lot of places being used as the border, so which has a dynamic course, and then there are traditional rights beyond the international border, etc. So all those compound the situation very much. There are Indian enclaves within the Bangladesh territory, and similarly Bangladesh enclaves within Indian territory, which also complicates matter very, very much. So all those things put together, there is possibility of illegal trade with Bangladesh, and carriers, etc., use these unauthorized checkpoints to take the live pet species into Bangladesh. And from Dhaka airport, as far as our information goes, those turtles are going into Kuala Lumpur, Bangkok, Macau area of China, Singapore, etc. So this is basically a synopsis of what I just said in terms of international travel. So beyond what is going through the Bengal border, the Chennai airport, Kochi airport, and Gaya airport, when it is an international airport for part of the year, Gaya airport, those are all utilized to get the total consignment across directly into Kuala Lumpur, Bangkok, Singapore, Macau, etc., without the involvement of Dhaka. For Calliope, again, UP is the source, and parts of Bengal, to the best of our knowledge, the northern part of Bengal, but not 24 Parganas, so Malda, those areas, those are being used. And for all this transportation from UP, we have some particular communities who are more involved, like the Kanjar community from Sultanpur, Jagdishpur, these districts of UP. So they are abjectly poor people, and they are easily lured into such kind of illegal trade, and they would travel in a group of 4, 5, sometimes more people, in combination of men, women, and children, so as to avoid detection, so as to not appear to be doing something illegal. So they would conceal the turtles in gunny bags and kit bags, and sometimes travel by road, and most of the times by general compartments of trains. When traveling by road, sometimes small trucks like these would be used, sometimes larger trucks would be used. And they would try to camouflage the turtles as bags of onion or potato, etc., like you can see in the lower pictures. And in the Kanjas, they would carry the turtles in such kit bags, making it appear like their personal luggage. And sometimes larger trucks are used, and there are small fish consignments on the back of the truck. So if you get past those fish consignments, fish boxes, then you would come into the turtles. And from such trucks, often sackfuls of turtles are rescued, and sometimes 657, sometimes even 1800 turtles have been seized in single operation. The trucks, etc., thankfully, because of the special provisions of the Wildlife Protection Act, are also seized. So that is a major deterrent for turtle smugglers. Regarding pets, the dealing is mostly by aquarium dealers, and communication is mostly through WhatsApp and social media platforms, because people are smart, they are aware of interception, and normal phone conversations are not used to a great extent. And within India, consignments are hand carried in trains or booked in train as aquarium fishes, and red-eared slider turtles, which are allowed as exotic pets. And if it is an international smuggling that is being attempted, then turtles would generally occur in personal baggages. They would be taped, they would be put into pillow covers, pillowcases, etc., and put into personal luggage. And in the pillowcases, they would be bound with diapers for cushioning and absorption of fecal matter, so that there is no foul smell emanating and the turtles are okay. And intel report suggests that they would also use carbon papers and aluminum foils, which are believed to befool the X-ray, but as far as the technical analysis of that goes, those are not very useful against X-ray detection. These are actually pictures that were obtained from I mean, not exactly these, but these types of pictures are obtained from accused person who are international smugglers of turtles. And what are the purpose of these photos? Because they are sent to somebody in, let's say, Suvarnabhumi airport of Bangkok, and the person knows that they will have to look at this specific identification mark in the luggage. So the person in whose name the luggage has been booked, the passenger, he does not collect this bag being arrived at Bangkok. Somebody else in the airport who knows which bag to collect, because he has been provided with a photo. So he goes, checks the bag, and collects it. So these kind of innocuous visual identification marks are there for the nexus to operate. Similarly, baggage tags like this, they are conveyed, and other details like this airway bill number, those have been conveyed. So these are thermocol boxes in which lobsters, crabs, etc. are transported from one country to the other. So concealed with chilled fishes, crabs and lobsters, which goes from India to Malaysia, sometimes from Kolkata airport to Kuala Lumpur airport, we have seen Indian star tortoises being packed. So there's a layer of crabs on the top, but below that you have star tortoises. So for pets, these transit through airports is carried out by people who are also involved in other crimes and sometimes legal business like electronics goods or garments, because with Thailand and Malaysia, those are the major individual small scale businesses that we see. And while they are going to Bangkok to come back with garments, they would sometimes carry these illegal live turtle pets for extra income. And often we see that wildlife smuggling follow the same pattern, same routes, same disguising techniques, concealment techniques as narcotics, as gold, because probably they are all small items and similarly placed, something like that. So the patterns are often very, very similar. So those mostly, I think, would be of interest to the general public regarding the modalities of crime regarding turtle species in India. And beyond that, let me show you some of the more beaches of Nicobar, where the 4 to 5 species of sea turtles would come and nest: the giant leatherback, olive ridley, green sea, and another one. So these are the beaches, white sand beaches. This is Little Nicobar Island, taken from helicopter. This is Great Nicobar Island. And all these beaches are heavily frequented by turtles for coming and laying of eggs in the winter season. We do not have winters in Andaman and Nicobars, but something like a pleasant sunny season. So from November, let's say October to November onwards, up to March, we will have turtle nesting in the island's beaches. Of course, it is also very rich in marine life. These shots are from Great Nicobar Island and one of my dives. Sea fans, anemone, double anemone, brain corals, etc. So it's a very rich marine ecosystem, unspoiled, flanked by these white sand beaches. This is one of the islands of Middle Nicobar, and turtle and other marine wildlife still relatively unspoiled in those areas. This is, I think, Nankori Island, and this is from the Komoda Island. You see almost shola-like vegetation pattern in these islands. It's 6-degree latitude at the Indira Point, 6-degree latitude north. So we have basically equatorial rainforest, and even small islands are heavily vegetated because of this very high equatorial rainfall climate. So you would see that most of these islands have white sand beaches, and those are very important for sea turtle conservation in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So these are the things that I wanted to share regarding the legal issues of turtle conservation. If you would have any points for discussion, I would be very happy to join. Thank you.
Dear participants, if you are having any queries to the sir, you may rightly point out, or you can write in the chat box. Participants, if you have any queries related to turtle conservations or the wildlife trade related issues, you can please ask, sir.
I think we could have mentioned that the questions could have been written in chat boxes before, but anyhow, now if anybody has any points to add also, because I'm sure people would have experience in marine wildlife conservation, turtle conservation. So if they want to add any observations or discuss any points, I would be very happy to discuss that.
Sir, can you explain about the temperature, temperature which required for an egg to be both, male or else female, is ahead somewhere? Because the incubation time, can you put some words on it?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact temperatures. I think it varies from species to species. And for the sea turtles, I think a practicing ecologist would be able to answer. But yes, there is a specific temperature. It's very specific, like 0.03 degree range, above and beyond which we have one sex, and in that very specific narrow range we have another. It is not specific to turtles. We see that for crocodilians also, for some of the snakes also. So and because of not knowing this, there has been thousands of I think male gharials released in UP for a very long time, till it was discovered that it is the temperature of incubation that determine the sex of the offspring. So, but I'm sorry, I cannot remember the exact temperature species wise for the 4 or 5 sea turtles that we have. So let me ask, is there any sea turtle nesting in Pondicherry? Is it there? Any of your beaches or coasts?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Forest department is taking the role in conserving the things. Yes.
So today in the participants, do we have only the officials of Department of Science and Technology, or?
No, sir. The participants is from the Wide Natures, from Pan India, sir. Because we had circulated to the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. There is one envis Secretariat, Environmental Information Secretariat.
Right.
So through them, the information has been dissipated, and we also put it in our social media profile also. So the participants are from different class of people. Now, I think if there is no other questions, we will just go for the Thanksgiving sections.
Please.
I thank Agnimitra.
I think there's somebody just written a message.
Good evening, sir. Can you brief how a common citizen contribute towards prevention of the piracy of this wildlife? Asked by Mr. Logesh and RR.
Right. It's a very nice question, and it's a nice question because that you recognized your duty towards this wildlife conservation. So let me first of all tell you that the Indian Constitution in Article 51AG, where it dictates the fundamental duties of Indian citizen, it says that it shall be the duty of every Indian citizen to conserve and have sympathy, kind of. The exact words are different, but the context, the meaning of those words is that Indian citizen will. It is a fundamental duty of an Indian citizen to have sympathy for all living creatures, including forest, rivers, lakes, etc. So it is not only the duty of the forest department or other enforcement agencies, but also common citizen to be part of this fight against wildlife crime. And as a common citizen, you have many things to do. You can do many of these things, and that would first of all include, if you have any access to areas where poaching can happen or smuggling can happen, slightly different things, poaching and smuggling. So poaching would be in areas where the wildlife is occurring, maybe sea coast, maybe inside protected areas. So if you have people who are working there for a living, who are around those areas, living there, you can just ask them to keep their eyes and ears open. You can just kind of recruit informers informally. That is the thing. So you can ask them to look for suspicious activities. You can ask them to have a look out for people who do not belong to that area but seen there sometimes. There are sometimes camps by the wandering tribes, and they are big time involved in wildlife crime of the big and the small nature both. So those are possibilities that you gather some kind of information. Then there are places like railway stations, bus stands, where when a smuggling happens, those are the points where the wildlife articles change hands. Okay, so it's a series of carriers, and carrier number 1 will give it to carrier number 2 in a bus stand or a railway station 9 times out of 10. So if you have people, if you know people who have tea stalls there or work there in some kind of capacity, they can just keep their eyes and ears open. They can just ask other people like porters and all to look around, and any suspicious activity, suspicious character, they can report. And the local forest department, the local police is equally empowered under the Wildlife Protection Act as the forest department. They can act on the information, and if there's anything which is violative of the Wildlife Protection Act, they can take the actions. So information collection and passing it on to the enforcement agencies is the mainstay of a citizen, what they can do. Beyond that, there is also the provision in the IPC, which talks about private arrest, which means that if you see a crime happening or if you're convinced that a crime is about to happen, because there's preparation of that and you can see the preparation, then any ordinary citizen can arrest the perpetrator and bring him to the nearest enforcement agency, forest, police, etc. So the provisions of private arrest can also be utilized, and that gives any citizen the right to arrest anybody who is committing a crime and bring him to the nearest enforcement agency. So all these things can be done, and of course you can participate in drives of the forest departments, of the NGOs like WWF, etc., who conducts awareness drives, who conducts sometimes beach cleaning drives and others. And then you get acquainted with more people who can then serve as informers and everything, and you can be of more use in the fight against wildlife crime. So those are the things that a common citizen can do in participating for wildlife crime prohibition. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I thank Agnimitra sir, IFS, Deputy Director, Wildlife Crime Control Bureau, Kolkata, for his elaborate talk on the threat to the turtles and about the illegal wildlife trade and the modus operandi happening in the country. Sir has explained the major illegal trade route in India, where most of these activities are happening, and the species which are highly threatened and affected due to these illegal activities. And it's my appeal to the participants to play a role in conserving these resources and let the species live in their biome, free from this threat, and to prevent illegal activities by informing the competent authorities, as requested by Sir. I thank Smita IAS Secretary Environment for nurturing us in conducting such events for the knowledge enrichment. I take these opportunities to thank my member secretary, Dr. S. Dinesh Kannan, IFS, for always being a part of an envis family and to provide us support in conducting such events. I thank Dr. R. Sagai Alfred, Senior Scientific Officer, for guiding the envis team in organizing such events. I thank all the colleagues, friends for participating in the events. I thank the envis team members for effectively organizing this webinar in a short period. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.